Hey, this is Bobby Rio, and I'd like to welcome you to the first module of Unlock Her Legs. This module is called Mind Control, the Ingredients to the Seduction. So the purpose of Unlock Her Legs, the reason we created the program in general, as we've explained, is to show you how to take that girl in your life, that hard-to-get girl, whether it's just a girl that's driving you crazy because you can't close the deal, a female friend in your life that you want to turn into a girlfriend, or an ex-girlfriend you want to get back, or maybe it's just a girl you work with, a girl from your social circle that you've had a crush on, and you want to progress it to the next level. Unlock Your Legs is going to show you how to do that, but there's two aspects of it. And there's the physical aspect and the mental aspect. And Rob and I, in the rest of the program, in the rest of the videos, are going to be taking you step by step through the physical aspect. And that's the conversation, the escalation, making your move, getting her horny, making her laugh, all these sort of elements to being in front of her and taking it from conversation to closing the deal. But there's also the mental aspect of a seduction, and that's what I'm going to be teaching in this particular module. You need to learn this because here's the thing. If you only know the physical, yes, you can go out there and you can, score a girl one night. Maybe it's a female friend of yours, and you follow the instructions we teach, and you get her, feeling good around you, you get her horny, you go for the kiss. But if you don't know how to play the mind games, she's going to get buyer's remorse. Same thing if you score an ex-girlfriend. They're going to quickly go, what did I do? Oh, this is going to get awkward. This is going to get weird. A girl in your social circle. Same thing could happen. You can go out and, trust me, in college it was, a barrage of drunken hookups. So a hookup didn't mean anything. And oftentimes, especially with younger girls, just getting them out and hooking up with them is not going to be enough. It's not going to be enough to control them, to turn it into making them your girlfriend or getting them to fall in love with you. You need to know the mind elements. And a lot of those mind elements are what she's going to be thinking about when she's not with you. And that's what we're going to cover. It's also how you create, friends with benefit situations or fuck buddies. If you can get a girl in a certain frame of mind about you, that's how you get the fuck buddy situation. That's how you turn a girl into your girlfriend. So what we're going to learn in this video are the elements of a seduction. We're going to talk about the mental and the emotional components. These are the things that you're going to want to produce in her, and it's also the mindset you're going to need to have in yourself going forward. Something I also want to say is that, using this material, watch this video as many times as you need to learn these concepts and to let them sink in. Because everything, and Rob and I are going to mention this throughout many of the lessons you're going to learn, much of this is counterintuitive. It's not going to feel natural. And when you're out in front of a girl, your natural instinct is to do the opposite. So I want you to watch this video as many times, write down when you hear something and you're like, no, that seems really weird. That's what you have to write down, and that's what you have to think about and spend time really studying, because that's where you're going to mess up. Also, using this material is look for times in your life or someone else's life that experienced what I'm talking about and relate to it. That's how you learn a new concept, is you need to be able to relate it to your own life. So as I teach a particular idea or concept in this video, mentally go through your mind and look for, maybe it didn't necessarily happen to you, but try to find maybe a friend of yours that did this, or somebody you know that used this tactic, and relate to it, because that's how it sinks in. That's how you remember this, is when you can kind of take what I'm saying and identify places in your own life that you've noticed it. But the quickest and most effective way to learn what I'm going to be teaching you in this module is to test the tactics out in the real world. Now, as we get into the, I call them like the 10 weapons, the 10 tactics of a seduction, some of them are going to feel extremely unnatural to you. But the beautiful thing about these things is that the results speak for themselves. It's like you go out and you do it and you say, wait a minute, that just completely worked. And it's something that works very quickly. And something that it's unlike, some of the conversation or flirting and, those kind of elements take time and practice. But the mental aspects, they work very, very rapidly. And that's the beauty of it. And that's sort of what makes it easier to learn than some of the other elements, is that you see immediate results. So go out there and test it. And once you see how effective it is, it's going to inspire you and motivate you to go through the program and continually go out and use more and more of it. So first, I want to bring up your end of the bargain. And what I mean by that is I'm going to be teaching you my favorite tactics. These are things that I've personally used on many women. I've had women use them on me and have been the one who was on the opposite end of the spectrum. I've been the one, seduced under her power. I've seen it work in many of my students who I've taught this to. I've seen it happen on both ends of the spectrum. I've watched my friends seduce women, and I've watched my friends get seduced by women. And I've seen that these same principles occur over and over again. And I'm going to be teaching them to you. But I need you to keep up your end of the bargain. And what that is that I need you to understand certain things. You really need to understand these things to make what I'm going to be teaching you in the rest of this video work. The first is attraction is counterintuitive. Now, in the video in Unlock Your Legs that I do with Rob called Thinking Counterintuitively and Garbage Time, we're going to talk a little bit more about this in relation to when you're actually in front of the girl and the mistakes you make when you're in front of the girl. But what I want to talk about in this regard of thinking counterintuitively is your general attitude. And I'll give you an example of counterintuitiveness. So intuitively, it would seem that you should be nice, always be nice to a girl, right? That the nicer you are, the more she's going to like you. But as anybody who kind of has been out there in the real world knows, that being too nice actually has the opposite effect, and it drives a woman away. Another counterintuitive idea is the thought of, I like her so much, I'm not going to try to sleep with her. Maybe, and I'm sure you've probably had this thought in your mind, you liked a girl, and you went out with her, and you thought, I'm not going to try to sleep with her because I like her, and I don't want her to get the wrong idea. I don't want her to think I'm only using her for sex. But that's a counterintuitive thing. Intuitively, yes, that's what you think. I should show her more respect because I like her. I'm not going to try to sleep with her. But in the real world, that's not how it works, because attraction is counterintuitive. Thinking that things should always be good. So if you're dating a girl, intuitively it makes sense of, yeah, things should always be good. She should always be enjoying her time with me. And maybe you have a female friend who, in your mind, you're like, things are always good. Why doesn't she like me? Once again, the answer is because attraction is counterintuitive. And when you do things like avoid confrontation, be too agreeable, you're actually creating the opposite effect that you want. And see, that's the weird thing, and that's the thing in this mind control video that is going to be stated over and over again, is that the opposite of what you think you should be doing is most of the time going to be what works. Guys frequently wonder, why does the bad boy do so well with women? And the answer is that the bad boy is counterintuitive. And that's why growing up, most guys couldn't understand why a certain guy gets all the women, because everything he's doing is counterintuitive to what should work. He's like putting himself first. He's treating girls like, treats the princess like a whore. He's just not agreeable with her. He argues with her. He flirts with other girls in front of her. He does all these things that a normal guy watches and he's like, dude, why does that work? Because from our point of view, we're looking at it from an intuitive point of view. That shouldn't work. And that's what you need to erase from your mind, is that shouldn't work. You need to erase that thought, that shouldn't work. Because the things you think shouldn't work are probably more likely what is going to work than what your first impression to do is going to be. The next thing that you need to understand going forward is that emotion trumps logic. Decisions are made emotionally and then rationalized logically. A big mistake that men make over and over with women is thinking that logic is what is going to get her. And, if you're stuck in the friend zone right now with a girl, logically you probably should be with her. Logically you probably have a lot in common. You're a nicer guy than the guy that she's dated. Maybe you're even better looking than a lot of the guys she's dated. Logically it makes sense for her to be with you. But what you need to comprehend is that decisions are not made on a logical basis. It's like when you go to a car lot to buy a new car. You go there, and logically you may say, I want a certain amount of gallons per mile. I want, this kind of warranty. There's all these logic things that you've decided or what you're going to base your buying decision on. But when you get in front of a good car salesman, a good car salesman knows that it's not about selling you on the logic. He's not going to sell you a car if he tries to appeal to your logic. He's going to try to appeal to your emotions. He's going to get you out in the nice car, the one that he knows you really want. He's going to get you driving it because he knows that's going to elicit certain emotions, and those emotions are going to cause you to pull out the pen and sign on the dotted line, buying a car that you had no intention of buying, because emotions create buying opportunities. Emotions create closing and attraction opportunities. Decisions are made emotionally. This is why a lot of guys mess up getting an ex back, because when a guy goes to get his ex-girlfriend back, they think logically, what should I do? And logically, when it comes to getting your ex-girlfriend back, apologizing, proving, trying to prove to her that you're changing, that you're going to be different, maybe sending her flowers at work. All these things logically should work, but they're not creating the right emotions in her. And if you've ever tried to get an ex-girlfriend back by doing any of those things, you know that they're pretty much fruitless. They very, very infrequently work. Now, we talk, Rob and I, in the video, Logical versus Emotional in the Boyfriend Trap. We go into more details about when you're actually with the girl and, the ways you spark emotion in her and how to avoid what I call the boyfriend trap. But in this particular video, it's important for you to realize this, because what the weapons you're going to be learning in this video do is they create very specific emotions in her. And the emotions they're going to create in her are the specific emotions that produce the feeling of love in a woman. They create the reaction of love. So the final thing in your end of the bargain is that when you think you don't need it is when you need it the most. And I really want to drill that into your mind, because I've been teaching this stuff for enough time, and I've been the guy having these thoughts of, she's different. We're past that. Or my all-time favorite, she's girlfriend material. If you hear yourself utter the words, she's different, we're past the game, or she's girlfriend material, then it is imperative that you go back and you watch this entire video start to finish, because you are well on your way to blowing it the minute you start uttering that. I know, I've been teaching this stuff for 7 years, and anytime I get an email from a guy and he says, Bobby, I really like her, she's girlfriend material, she's different, I need a different strategy for her, I know this guy mentally has already lost the game. He's letting his emotions, the whole idea of emotions is also about controlling your emotions, because, your emotions are going to want to act intuitively, and it sort of all comes together. Intuitively, your emotions, when you're feeling good and you're feeling certain things, you're going to want to act on those emotions. But the problem is, what your emotions are often going to tell you to do is not the right thing. So if you're, the only way I can prevent this from happening is for you right now to make a deal for yourself. The minute you start thinking or saying she's girlfriend material, she's different, or if you're kind of dating her or talking to her saying, we're past that, or I don't have to do that, I need you to commit to go back and watch this, or else you're going to find yourself in a world of pain. So let's talk about the psychology of seduction. So when it comes to the psychology of seduction, the psychology of getting a woman to fall in love with you, to exert mind control over her, I'm about to tell you something that you probably have not heard before, and is probably the single most important element of getting a woman to fall in love with you. And that is that most decisions are made by our ego or our id. And love is almost entirely based on validation. The more you validate a woman's specialness, her feeling of being special, the more she's going to fall in love with you. But it is also a game of validation and withholding validation. Now, that whole idea of withholding validation, I'm going to be teaching you when we get to the tactics portion of this video. However, what you need to know right now is that getting a woman to fall in love with you is not about having the most in common with her. It's not about having a deep connection with her. It is not about making her laugh more than other guys. It's not about being better looking than other guys. It's not about having better sex with her than other guys. It is 100% about how unique and special she feels being with you. It's not what you can cause. It's not you. It's the reaction she has internally around you. It's how validated she feels, how much her ego is pumped up around you. Now, you say to yourself, well, that's not true because I fall in love with girls and it has nothing to do with that. But it does. When you really break it down, love is based on the ego. You're in love with her, not, you may think in a logical terms. You may say to yourself, well, I love her because she's really pretty and we have a lot in common and, we have fun together. But when you really examine it, what you're going to find out is that you like the way you feel about yourself when you're with her. You like that she makes you feel like a cool guy. She makes you feel like a masculine dominant man. She makes you feel like you're funny. She's making you feel special. She's pumping up your ego, and you get addicted to being around her, and you convince yourself that you're in love with her. And that is a vital ingredient to a seduction, is that idea of making a woman feel special, of validating her. There are certain areas of her that need more validation than others. You need to validate her sexual side. She has to feel appreciated for her femininity around her. You've got to validate her ideal self. Her ideal self is the vision she sees of herself. Now, Rob and I, we have an entire video on this called Mirror, Mirror, where we teach you exactly how to do this. But right now, what I want you to remember and want you to process in your mind is that your game, the entire game, is about validating her specialness and then withholding that validation and making her fight for more. Because once we feel validated, once we feel special, when somebody starts to take it away, we fight to keep it. And that's what the game is about. It's about getting her to fight to keep that validation. It's all going to be explained as we go through this. But right now, as we're talking about the psychology, you need to know that. The next thing you need to know in regards to the psychology is that emotions are addicting, even the bad ones. So a lot of the tactics that we're going to be going over in the next portion of this video revolve around creating specific emotions in her. What you need to understand is that emotions are addicting. And the more she feels a certain emotion, the more she wants that emotion. The need for approval is an addicting emotion. And if you ever met somebody who, they seem to really need approval, it's probably because when they were 5 years old, their dad never gave them approval. And that emotion became addicting, and they become drawn to people that won't give them their approval. Humor is addicting. When you start laughing, it's like contagious. You want to keep laughing. You want to be around people that are laughing. Anticipation is addicting. Continue to watch TV shows every week because we love the anticipation. We love waiting, till next week's episode of Homeland to see what happens. Disappointment is even addicting. If you've had somebody in your life that continually disappoints you and you don't know why you can't get rid of them, it's because it's an addicting emotion. All emotions are addicting. Anger is addicting. Have you ever gotten in a fight? You're arguing with somebody, and you don't want the argument to stop because that anger is just like it's driving you. You don't necessarily like the feeling, but you don't want it to go away. And all this idea of emotions are addicting is going to be very crucial to what you're going to be learning. And like I said, I'm kind of going through the psychology so that when I'm teaching you the tactics, and a lot of these tactics, when you hear them, you're going to think, wow, why would that work? But it works because they're all based on the psychology of seduction. The next portion of the psychology that you need to understand is that fear of loss overpowers potential gain. So people are more motivated by a fear of moving away from pain, a fear of loss, than they are of getting pleasure or potential gain. Now, let me ask you something. Have you ever dated a girl? You were kind of, having mixed feelings about her. You were starting to think that maybe it wasn't going to work out. You didn't really know if you liked her enough to make her your girlfriend. But then all of a sudden, she starts pulling away. She starts acting like she doesn't know if you're the right one. All of a sudden, fear of loss probably kicked in, and now all of a sudden you didn't want to lose her. Now you're like, oh shit, maybe maybe you. I've been in situations where I did complete 180s with a girl where I was ready to leave them, and then all of a sudden they started pulling away, and all of a sudden I became obsessed with getting them. The fact is that we work harder not to lose something than we do to gain something. So let's just say I offered you right now $100 to come and work for me. And I said, if you come to my place right now and work for me, I'll give you $100. But let's say I said, now if you don't show up, I'm going to take $100 from you. So where is people more motivated? They're a lot more likely to show up if it means protecting what they already have. We're motivated to protect what we already have. The fear of loss is really why the takeaway, the old takeaway, works so well. If you've watched any of these, videos or any sort of promotions, where somebody's trying to sell you something and they say that it ends in, 48 hours, it's because they know that people don't want to lose an opportunity, that when they sense they're going to lose something, it makes them take action. It's also why women like bad boys so much, and why nice guys blow it, is because a nice guy does not invoke the fear of loss in a woman. A bad boy does. When a woman is with a bad boy, at any given moment, she fears that he may leave and she is never going to see him again. So she invests much more in trying to keep him around. A nice guy, she knows that she has him, that fear of loss is gone, and that is why she never feels the same amount of attraction that she does for the bad boy. So the next element that makes what we're going to be teaching in the mind control portion of this Unlock Your Legs program so effective, and the other element of the psychology of seduction, is that people want what they can't have. Human nature. It's the old cat on a string. You've probably heard this metaphor in regards to women, that when you dangle a string in front of a cat, that cat will chase that string. But the minute you let him have it, it stops chasing. And women are the same way. Women want a guy until they can't have him. Once again, it's why bad boys have such an effect on women, is because women is always chasing, and women like to be chasing. We like to be chasing. We are attracted to girls that over the years that we've had to chase, the girls that we can't really have. And that a feeling is addicting. And even when we're with the girl, we want to still feel like we can't completely have her. We still like the chase, and women are the same way. Even when they're with you, they still want to feel like they have to chase you a little bit. The next element of the psychology of seduction is We want things more when we think that other people want it. This is why, in any kind of consumer culture, this is 100% true. It's why girls are obsessed with pocketbooks. They want the pocketbook that they know their friends are going to want. Not because, it's the nicer pocketbook. It's because they know that their friends are going to want it. It's why you want a certain girl. If all your friends talk about how hot a girl is, you want her more than you would have if your friends weren't telling if it wasn't a topic of conversation amongst your friends how hot the girl was, you wouldn't want her nearly as much. It's why more likely we get more attracted to a girl within our social circle. I know for myself, I've always, I liked getting that hard girl in my social circle, the hard to get girl. Whether it was when I was working in the restaurant industry and there was like the one girl in the restaurant, Deanna, who had never hooked up with any guy. I wanted to be the first one to do it because of my ego. I wanted to feel special. All goes back to, the first element of the psychology of seduction is that we make our decisions based on our ego and our desire to feel special. And the fact that everybody had wanted Deanna and nobody had been able to hook up with her, that made me want her more. And it's the same with women. They want to be the girl who gets the guy that everybody wants because it validates their specialness. If everybody wants him, that means he has choice. And if he's choosing you, that means you must be really special. That's the process that goes through the woman's mind. The next element of seduction is two things. One is the mind can't let things go. And the second is that the mind has a desire to understand. We need, as human beings, we need to tie up loose ends. There's something called the Zeigarnik effect. When you can, Google it, Zeigarnik effect. It's basically a psychological principle that when there's something that is unfinished mentally, it creates psychic tension, and we have a desire inside to finish it. We need to tie up loose ends. TV and movies are built on this. The reason you sit through a 2-hour movie, even sometimes when, midway through the movie you're like, this movie kind of sucks, you very rarely leave the movie theater. Even though, that hour that, you sit through the movie, you could be doing something else, but it's because you just not knowing what happened just drives you crazy. Even if it's a movie that, you're not really interested in, you still have a desire to see it to completion. We have a compulsive desire to solve a puzzle. Now, this unfinished business keeps psychic tension within us. Now, I got to ask you, and I already know the answer. Do you ever have a girl that you can't figure out what went wrong? You had a girl in your life, and maybe you went on a couple dates with her, maybe you slept with her, maybe it was a girl, whatever it was. But at some point, something happened, and you don't know what happened. You don't know why she lost attraction, why she stopped calling, why she seemed to disappear. And I bet that it still drives you crazy. I bet there is still a big portion of psychic tension that, even if it was years ago, you're still wondering what happened. Now, I know I particularly have girls. I had a girl that I had a little bit of a fling with, and she just went cold. Like, she just didn't answer the phone. And, she texted me back, but, wouldn't even get on the phone with me. And I have no clue what happened. And to this day, this girl, Robin, I still want to run into her. And I still am, want to know what happened. Why did you seemed so into me the night that we went home. You wanted to have sex with me. You were telling me you were going to cook me dinner. You wanted me to, we made plans for the following week. And then you just went cold. Me and Rob, in magnetic messaging, we call it the Cinderella effect. You just have the Cinderella effect. And, the reason that I have this is not because Robin was such a great girl or anything like that, because it's unfinished business. It's a puzzle that I haven't been able to solve. I don't know what happened, and it drives me crazy. Trying to figure out what someone was thinking. Think about this. Have you ever been in the car with somebody, a girl or a friend of yours, and they just start laughing to themselves? And it just drives you crazy. You're like, what were you laughing about? What? Tell me, what? You need to know what they were thinking. And in the relationship realm, you want to create that in the woman. Part of the psychology of seduction is to get her mentally trying to figure out what you're thinking. because that produces thoughts. And as we're going to talk about in the next little section of this, is that, the seed of love begins with compulsive thought. And you need to create compulsive thought. I remember when I was dating a girl back in college, one of my longtime girlfriends, Beth. Before I met Beth, she had slept with another guy on the first night while she was dating her ex-boyfriend. Now, Beth was a good girl. By all accounts, I would never have expected that from her. So for our entire relationship, that element was there that I could not understand, because she made me wait like 2 weeks to sleep with her, yet this guy John banged her the very first night. And I was like, what was it? What caused you to do that? And, she didn't really have an answer. It just happened, blah, blah, blah. But me, mentally, I needed to know, and it drove me crazy trying to think about it. All right, so the next thing I want to stress is really crucial to getting a woman to fall in love with you. And it's crucial to eliminate the thoughts from your mind like, we're past that point. She's different. I got this. She likes me. And that is, attraction is not black or white. Our thoughts about another person, they ebb and they flow. From one minute, a woman could be thinking, wow, I really like this guy. I'm having a lot of fun with him. He's funny. He makes me feel special. The next minute, she could just be thinking like, what he just said was kind of corny. Maybe he's not as cool as I thought he was. From that angle, he doesn't look as good. It just changes. People, it's not like we don't make up a permanent decision of, oh, this guy is a guy that I would fall in love with. It changes from moment to moment. And this is primarily because attraction is emotion-driven. It's not logical-driven. Logic is permanent. Logic doesn't change. Emotions, though, they come in waves. And in 1 minute, a woman could be with you and have this emotion of love and this emotion of warmth and connection and feeling like, wow, I want to be with this guy. She could be away from you, having this emotion of anticipation to see you. But then at another time, she could be away from you and have no emotions at all. She could be away from you and be thinking about you and just feel like boredom or apathy or indifference. And that is the most dangerous emotion of all. A lot of people think that hate is the most dangerous emotion. People think, wow, I don't want her to hate me. If I say that, she might hate me. If I do that, she might hate me. But the most dangerous emotion a woman can have for you, when it comes to love, is indifference. The opposite of love is not hate. Love and hate are on the same playing field. The opposite of love is indifference. So you always want to make sure that a woman is feeling some emotion, because if she's emotionless and she's indifferent, that's when the game is over. That's when you lose. So you got to keep this in mind, that her feeling 1 minute, you could have a really great date with her, but that is not the end of the game. She does not lock in her mind, had great date with John, next time, going to look forward to it. If at the moment when the date's ending or you're slept with her or whatever, her emotions are spiked. But when she leaves your vicinity, when you're not around her anymore, those emotions, it starts back at zero. It slides back down. It's a sliding scale. One of the big reasons that this is the case is because attention is a commodity. We live in what I refer to as an ADD world. Think about it. The internet especially, cell phones especially. I mean, think about when you're hanging out with a girl. Even if it's a female friend or whatever. Think about how often she's on her cell phone, checking Facebook, checking text messages. Now, this girl has other dudes contacting her. She's got, she scrolls through Facebook and she sees that her ex-boyfriend put new pictures up with himself with new girlfriends. She's got all these things fighting for her attention. And that is your biggest enemy. And that is why, as we're going to talk about, throughout all the tactics, is that a big portion of what your goal is to capture as much of her attention as possible. You also need to keep in mind that no girl is completely 100% single. Guys don't seem to understand that. Guys always email me, and I have a heart, so I hate having to be the guy to email them back. But they email me and they say, I went on this couple dates with this girl, and things went really well, but then she disappeared. What happened? And I'm always reluctant to say it because I know it hurts to hear. But, almost 85 to 90% of the time that happens, it's because there was another guy in the picture. She went on the date with you because the other guy was out of action for a little bit. Maybe she had a fight with her other guy. Maybe she wasn't sure what's going on. Maybe it was early on in the relationship with the other guy, and she didn't want to commit to him too soon, so she still wanted to play the field a little bit. The fact is, the biggest reason a girl disappears is because another guy got more of her attention. And there's no way around it. If you're dealing with a beautiful woman, an attractive, she doesn't even have to be beautiful. If you're dealing with a 6 or above, she's going to have guys in her life. And these guys are going to be fighting for her attention. The only way that you can occupy her mind and control her attention is by eliciting emotions. Because if a woman is away from you and she's angry at you, right? She's thinking about you, and she's not going to be paying as much attention to the other barragement of, guys talking to her on Facebook or whatever. If she's away from you and she's anticipating, you told her you would call her at, after you get out of work at 8 o'clock, and now it's 12 o'clock and you haven't called, and she's anticipating your phone call, during those 4 hours, she's not thinking about other guys. She's blocked them out. When her text message goes off and it's not you, she's wondering why you haven't texted her. You have her attention. And that is the goal, because emotions equal attention. And everything you're going to be learning, all the tactics, is based on creating emotions in a woman when she's not around you. So before we get into the tactics, and I know I keep telling you we're going to get into them in a minute, but I'm using I'm using the Zeigenderic effect. I'm creating the psychic tension. I'm creating the anticipation. I'm making you wait for them to keep you listening, because I want you to learn everything about it. But we are going to get into the tactics in just a minute. But I wanted to go through a checklist of goals for the mental seduction. If you want to exert mind control over a woman, if you want to create a mental seduction, and as I said, in the rest of the Unlock Her Legs videos, Rob and I are going to walk you step by step through the physical seduction, and in the various components of the program, the ebook and the audio, you're going to learn a mixture of both. But in this video, I want to talk about the goals of a mental seduction. The first goal is, as we said, is to create psychic tension. You need to have her wondering what's going to come next. You need to create questions that she needs to know the answers to. This is important, because if not, she's going to lose interest. Next, you need to get her emotionally addicted to the chase. And you do this by creating and then withholding emotional validation. So you find her and you recognize things about her. You make her feel special. You make her feel unique. But then you pull away and you make her work for it again. And then you do the same thing, and you create this, this sort of game of making her work for your validation. And this may seem sneaky, but it's not. It's what she ultimately wants. You're giving her what she wants. The same thing with the next goal is to get her emotionally addicted to the drama. And that may seem sneaky, and you may say, I hate drama. But you know what? You may hate drama, but women love drama. She needs to feel like she's a character in an episode of, Housewives of New Jersey or, some soap opera. She needs that drama, or else it's going to get boring. She's going to become indifferent to you. She needs that. She thrives on it. Women love drama. Next, you need to take up mental space in her mind. Extremely important that you take up mental space in her mind. When she's not with you, she needs to be thinking about you. Like I said, you're going to know what to do when you're in front of her throughout the rest of this program. But when she's not with you, there's things that you can do that ensure that when you're not around, she's thinking about you. And that's important because, like I said, we live in a world where she's got Facebook. She's probably on online dating sites. She's got some guy at her work that's constantly hitting on her. There are a dozen of other guys vying for her attention. Next, you need to create a roller coaster of emotions. You need really big highs. You need to make her feel really good, have a lot of fun, feel really special and validated. But there's got to be some lows. It's like a roller coaster. Think about it. If the roller coaster was always going straight up, straight up, straight up, it would get boring. And if it was always going straight down, straight down, straight down, it would get boring. What makes a roller coaster so exciting is that there's peaks and valleys, there's highs and lows, and that's what a relationship needs to be. And finally, and this is most importantly, is leave her better than you found her. And now, I'm not saying this in regards to, hey, you should bang her and leave right away. I'm hoping you use this and you find the girl you're going to marry and you have children and you live a great, happy life with her. But the attitude you need to have, though, is leave her better than you found her. You may be saying to yourself, well, Bobby, you're kind of saying some shit that's kind of sneaky and seems like it might not be in her best intention. Everything you need to do, mentally, you're doing because it's what she wants. It's for her best intention. She wants this. She wants the chase. She wants the drama. You're giving her what she wants. But at the same time, you want to leave her better than you found her, and you do this by bringing out her best qualities. Encourage her to express herself. Encourage her to bring out, be the guy that brings out sides of her that she, that she wants to express. Turn her into the woman that she longs to be. We all have an ideal vision of ourselves. And, one of the reasons that I'm with my girlfriend still and I'm in love with her and we have such a great relationship is because she helped me become the guy that I wanted to be. When I met her, I knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I knew I wanted to do stuff. But being with her brought that out of me. And, she helped me go to the next level. And you want to help the woman get to the next level. You want to help her grow to the next level. And this not only, is it the right thing to do, but it's also works in your favor because we want to be around a person that brings out the best in us. All right. So this wraps up the first portion of the psychology of seduction, mental mind control stuff. We're going to get into the 10 mental tactics in part 2 of this video.